I said hello, and the sergeant major's like, oh hell no, you get down to my office right now.
Do you ever have to carry your poop around so you don't leave evidence behind? I would finish in the time it took one person to do one set because they were just sitting there staring at themselves in the mirror the entire time.
Welcome back, everybody, to Shift Fire, the exploration and appreciation of all things military culture.
We are here doing another episode of Interrogating Cam and Izzy.
Let's jump in.
What was the most badass thing you saw someone do or did yourself? Ooh.
That's a very high standard.
This is a hard one. Just because every time we did a mission, it was just badass. I mean, we were doing.
It was just great. You're doing your job.
Yeah,
man.
Everybody's doing their job. Yep. Even during training, like just seeing people, maneuver through buildings, bounding, reacting to contact. Mm-hmm. It's just all cool to me. Like just being an infantryman. To me, it was just badass, going out there and shooting machine guns and shooting rifles, blowing up. I can't think of one thing that stands out to me because I just, had a great time doing it all.
Yeah, Halo School was amazing. Flying it, just at night in Iraq, flying in a Black Hawk with night vision on and your legs dangling out the side of the helicopter, going on your way to do a mission, you just felt awesome, and then coming into the outskirts of town, you land, you get the brown out, and stuff, and you're right there, and you're coming off, and then it leaves, and it's totally dark and quiet, and you got your nods, you're doing the 0 dark 30 stuff. That was really cool.
Next question.
Next. Oh, this would be a good one for you. Actually, we could probably both answer this one. What was the most common or cliched tattoo or tattoos that you saw while serving?
No, death before dishonor. Easy. Well, I'll be honest, any infantry tattoo, like this one. Let me flex my gun for it. But this one, it was my second tattoo. It says, born to fight, trained to kill, ready to die, but never will. God bless the infantry. Yeah, and that was a mural that was painted on one of the basic training little barracks, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, so I was like, I'm getting that tattooed. The most cliche stuff would be just army tattoos.
Yeah.
A lot of people have We the People tattooed on. A lot of people have death before dishonor.
Uber patriotic ones.
Patriotic ones. Those are the most cliche ones.
Or girlfriends' names, some sort of heart with a girlfriend's name or something like that. Or the cool, totally respectable, obviously great ones.
Yeah, like a peach with your fiance's name tattooed on it. Just showing off my tats.
Okay, hey, whoa. Was there a situation where people were reprimanded by command because they had done something bad?
Yeah, that happens a lot. Obviously, alcohol is a big thing in the military.
Yeah.
Alcohol-related incidents. Unfortunately, the biggest killers of Rangers, at least in regiment.
Oh no.
Obviously, they get sent to the 82nd Airborne.
Yeah, they get kicked out of regiment.
Yeah, they get kicked out of regiment, but a lot of times they don't leave the Army unless they pop hot on a drug test, which happens a lot too, because guys go up to Seattle and go a little crazy trying to impress women.
Getting that wacky tobacco.
Yeah, getting wacky tobacco in the form of white. Some people would take passes and go back home when they're not allowed to do so. That got a couple people, but it happens a lot.
It's a standard kind of thing where you have your set standards, and then if you step out of line, there have to be consequences. It's good to have consequences for your action. Hopefully you can learn.
Yeah, a big thing also was physical standards. That was a big thing. I had a couple people in my squad get kicked out because they couldn't pass a 5-mile.
Oh.
Yeah, keeping your physical prowess. Just because you get to the unit, that's not the end of it. We had a saying in regiment, which was the easy part was RASP.
Yes.
The hard part is staying in Ranger Battalion.
Yeah.
So just because you have to continue to pass the standards, because in RASP, all you're doing is passing standards. Once you get to regiment, you have to maintain, and then you have to continuously elevate your performance because you're surrounded by people that are also maintaining and competing for very limited slots. Physical fitness was a big thing that got people kicked out.
I can remember kind of a dumb reprimand that I got from my sergeant major. This is what happens when guys are generally older, they got families, they're a little more grounded and stuff, and then sergeant major's just looking for something to call you out on. But, we were back at battalion, I was in the team room, and I happened to pick up the phone. I said, hello? And the sergeant major's like, oh, hell no, get down to my office right now.
What? See, this is why I said the worst ranks are sergeant major, because that's...
He's not just like a, hey man, just so you know we have a... He's like, no, you get down to my office right now. And he called my team sergeant with me, and my team sergeant and I went down there.
He said hello.
Yeah, he's like, there's a standard that we have to adhere to when you answer the phone within the battalion, and I need to make sure that you know it. And he had me sit there and memorize it and say it a couple times. And then after we left the office, my team sergeant looked at me, he's like, that was so dumb.
Thanks for calling 1st Special Forces Group. This is Sergeant Wright. How may I help you, sir? Man, this line isn't scared.
That's actually how I answer my phone nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. That's me too. Me too. What's your reasoning for going enlisted versus going officer? Because I wanted to keep my soul. That's what
I wanted to do something. I wanted to be out there in the front lines actually doing something. I didn't want to have any MOS that was like some sort of rear battalion or like some sort of office job. I'm like, I want to do out there infantry style combat arms doing my job.
I didn't actually have a choice to go officer because my goal from high school was literally just enlist. I didn't want to go officer. I didn't know a lot about enlisted versus officer. All I know is I wanted to go immediately. So officer wasn't even a choice for me. C's get degrees, folks. So I didn't have the grades and I didn't take my SATs or anything because I literally just wanted to join the military. I had no aspirations of going to college, so enlisted was my choice right off the bat.
Now it's really interesting because I actually went to college, graduated from college 2 years before I ever joined the military.
So you definitely had the option to do it.
And they asked me, like, don't you want to go officer? And that just never appealed to me. Special Forces, it's a little bit different, but after 2 years on a team, captain, a team leader, they have to go out to a desk job anyway. So it's like, no, enlisted was always it was a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, I didn't even look into going officer. I was like, I don't care. I just want to be in the military.
Yep.
Okay, how do you train? How did the military change your approach to physical fitness? I trained to standard, not to time. Yes.
I mean, the military gave me a great appreciation for physical training in general. The military ingrained in me the self-discipline to train on my own because I'd always done a lot of sports when I was younger, things like that. I would go to the gym, but I do like, the standard muscle group stuff, but I never really thought about functional fitness or,
training to a purpose other than getting big and jacked.
Exactly. That was one thing that really shifted in my mind, and I'm thankful for if I really knuckle down, I've got the self-discipline to get up early in the morning on my own. Nobody's telling me to do it. I go out and I do it, and that's thanks to the military in large part.
That discipline was definitely something that increased throughout my service, and the understanding of how important physical fitness was for at least, being in special operations, because that was one of the five focuses, if you will, in Ranger Regiment. Physical fitness. Obviously, you needed to be at an elevated level because the regular standard for the military was like 60% in each category for the push-ups, sit-ups, and 2-mile run.
Okay.
But in regiment, we had to do 80%. So you had to go above the standard, and that was the minimum. Before it was just like lifting weights, just trying to get big, but then understanding the importance of like my movements are affected of how I train them and just being functionally fit. Like what happens if, I need to carry heavy weight long distances, not just, do one repetition of a very heavy weight.
Right.
So it definitely changed my mindset for training and introduced me to the intensity level required to make gains. I actually got super irritated the other day because I went to this conventional gym for the first time because I've been going to CrossFit gyms and I would say 90% of the people around me, I would finish my entire exercise or circuit in the time it took one person to do one set because they were just sitting there staring at themselves in the mirror the entire time. And in my mind, I'm like, if you spent the majority of time actually doing exercises than you spent staring at yourself in the mirror, you would look great. I still continue to do the same workouts that I did in the military, even though I'm not in anymore, just because it's so important.
Okay. Oh, so the question is for me, actually.
Very
question for
specific.
Israel.
Okay.
I'm curious, is there any special ceremony when you receive your green beret? It says green beret. Beret only has one arm, and it's also spelled with an E instead of an A. So when you receive your green beret, and what is the meaning behind it? I'm thinking of specifically of my graduation ceremony. It was kind of like a typical like high school or college graduation. We're all sitting in chairs in the front, and they would call our names up. And the most significant thing was that you get a Yarborough knife, which was named after William P. Yarborough. He's kind of generally known as the father of modern day special forces. So it's named after him, and I think that was a relatively new thing they were doing. They hadn't handed them out for very long. So you got a serialized knife, a really good knife. You get free sharpening forever from the manufacturer. No super secret special ceremonies in that way. What about you for Rangers?
Oh, for Rangers? Well, I'm glad you asked because I was feeling left out. You go down in Fort Benning to the amphitheater there and they have a big ceremony. When you graduate, you recite the Ranger Creed as a class, and then they show the most regiment recruiting video to your family that's like, this is what your son will be doing. And it has like Breaking Benjamin in it. Only the strongest will survive. Is that Breaking Benjamin?
Yeah, Halo 2, baby.
So they have Breaking Benjamin played for this song, and then you don your beret afterwards, and it's just a cool feeling I was wearing ACUs for mine as well. It was actually interesting because Ranger Regiment transitioned to multicam before the entire military.
Yeah.
In Regiment, they were walking around in multicams where everybody else was in ACUs already, so it's pretty cool. When you were deployed, how often did you eat MREs? How often did you eat local food? Okay.
I didn't eat MREs at all when I was in Iraq. I was always on a base. We never did operations that took us away for like days on end. If we did, there was one time we went to another team's base, stayed the night there, so they had a fridge and a kitchen, and we just ate with them. But we ate local food quite often. Whenever we would go off base to do like patrols, to meet up with the locals and stuff, we would sit down and have some chai with them. They would bring out like a plate of variety of stuff. And then on Thanksgiving Day 2008, I went up to Hook, Iraq, and we had kebabs for Thanksgiving that day. So.
We had local food a couple times, but we actually ate a lot of MREs. We didn't have a kitchen because we were literally staying on an abandoned schoolhouse that we've seized from ISIS. No running water. You had to drink water bottles and do everything with those. And then we had no bathrooms, only those wag bags. We had power because of the generators they brought in, but it took about like 2 months before they actually brought in someone to make us food.
Oh.
Any non-perishables were huge, so I had like a bunch of jars of peanut butter, canned chicken, like the premium white chicken that you get in the can. I ate a crap ton of that. But when they brought in the chef, he made really good food, and I remember they brought in a giant goat, like a fully cooked goat with the head still on to us. And like everybody ate with their hands, so we just picked off, and they had the giant garlic packets of sauce.
Yeah.
That was good. And then after we left that, we went to another base, and they had like some Syrians that were working there that would make us food all day, and it was delicious. So that's when I had like the French MRE, because the French were there, and we had the British. I had a couple British MREs, so I was exposed to those. But yeah, a lot of MREs on that deployment.
What are your thoughts on Space Force?
Oh man, Space Force. The Space Force, yeah, I think Steve Carell is a great leader.
I think he does a really good job.
He does a really good job.
They're in Colorado.
No, Space Force, I honestly don't know anything about the Space Force other than they do spacey stuff.
I think it sounds goofy, Space Force, because we think like Star Wars and stuff like that, but I can see the practical concern because we have satellites, they have other assets and things like that that occupy a space that is above kind of our normal atmosphere, so I'm guessing it's just like a subset of like maybe the Air Force or something like that.
Yeah,
it's probably going to take them a while to get stood up to be like a legitimate branch of the military.
They are a legitimate branch.
Yeah,
they are good. I had a buddy give me a Space Force patch. That's big brain shit.
Yeah, it's one of those branches where like you don't think about it very often.
Oh yeah.
It's probably a pretty important job that they do.
Yeah, and the people they select are like really smart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're gonna be saving us from like Chinese lasers and rockets, and we're never gonna hear about it.
Yeah, probably not. Do you ever have to carry your poop around so you don't leave evidence behind?
I'm so glad that we are back to the poop questions, Cameron. I was getting a little worried. We had not had a poop question in quite a while.
I'm glad it made a triumphant return. But personally, I haven't had to do that yet. But according to doctrine, yes, you will have to do it. Pack it in, pack it out. You don't want to leave anything behind. No trace, especially that the enemy can gather any intel, like what you ate.
Whether or not
lunch.
You had corn in the past 24 hours.
Obviously. But yeah, on like reconnaissance, or if you're doing something like surveillance where you're in a serve site or a hide site, you need to use the bathroom, right? Use an MRE bag, use an MRE box with like plastic bags in there, or you can bring a couple of your own wag bags. We have those in Syria. It's a nice bag that you take a dump in it. It's got stuff in it that like clumps it together, and then you get to seal it up. But realistically, you don't leave that stuff behind. You don't leave that behind, literally.
Literally. All right, here we go. What medals did you two get throughout your time in the military? Oh, okay. There was the Global War on Terrorism. Army Service Ribbon. You automatically get like 3 when you join.
Well, now it's 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
because no one got Global War on Terror.
Yeah, I think I have like 4 bars on my ribbons.
Oh, wow. I remember I got the Combat Infantryman's Badge, which you get if you were in a combat situation, which I was in a very brief one over in Iraq. Halo Badge. Everybody gets the infantry, the
EIB.
It's the rifle in a blue background.
The wreath.
But without the wreath, which would be the Combat Infantryman's Badge.
Yeah. You have to do your tasks exactly how they are written, and you basically test it on them, like loading a radio, reacting to contact, like range estimation, call for fire,
Which for Rangers, that's just a Tuesday.
It's just literally what we're all good at. We got the EIB, I have a CIB, Airborne Wings, and then probably the highest tier medal I got was the JCOM, a Valor device. It's a joint commemoration medal, so it's basically what I got from being in Syria with working with JSOC pretty much.
Okay.
So that's the highest tier 1 that I have. Yeah, I just have I have a lot. I also have foreign airborne wings.
Hey,
So
yeah.
I have Italian jump wings for when we jumped with the Alpinis, Italian equivalent of Rangers, and then I have them from Korea. So I have Korean jump wings and Italian jump wings.
Nice, man.
Yeah. That's all the questions we have for this round of Interrogating Cam and Izzy. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure you let us know by subscribing to the channel and liking this video. And as always, Fireteam, we will catch you on that next one.
We love you. If you want to ask us a question,
Good question.
if you would like to ask us a question, ask us a question. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. Welcome back, everybody, to Shift Fire.